Welcome to Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark. Be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. Hi, Chris. Good to see you. Hi, Rick the Whirlwind. Good to see you as well. Thanks for coming in. How are y'all doing tonight? I had a busy day. I was hoping to get one done earlier today, but I had another appointment that I had to get to, so I apologize for that. And a lady where I was at was discussing this, and I said, I didn't hear anything about it. Have y'all heard anything about this case before? It's Ruth Miller, age 40, in Tuscarawas County, Ohio, murdered the 4-year-old son. I had to look up to see how to pronounce that, and I started laughing at people at YouTube that were trying to pronounce it, who pronounced it wrongly as well. But it does pronounce like Tuscarawas, okay? Thank everybody for coming. I appreciate y'all. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips and balance in favor of fair use. We already know that she's guilty because she said what she had done. In Matthew 18, verse 6, but whoso shall offend one of these little ones, which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, that he were drowned in the depths of the sea. The mother and the father both had a mental illness. Isaiah 117, learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take out the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow. Get it back up here where we do trigger warning. Okay. Without further ado, first I'll do the meeting. Abuse affects our lives in so many ways. What do we do when we are too scared to tell? When we have trusted someone and they did not help. Sometimes someone asks, what did you do to get punished this way? Abuse is abuse. Abuse is not punishment. Abuse is torture, crippling, and debilitating. What advice would you give others to help them through the horrendous memories? Are you there for the person, or are you part of the knife in your friend or relative's back, since you may have turned a blind eye to it? Are you claiming to advocate against abuse, but condemn the people who tell and share their stories? Do you want to be a part of the solution or part of the problem? Let's stand united and discuss ways in which we may help others. What ways have helped you in your healing journey? Are you in a constant battle fighting the negative forces within? Stop. Let's encourage one another. Are you an officer in the judicial system not doing your job to help the victim? That means you are not doing your duty. Your duty is to serve and protect. How do we open the public's eyes so they can acknowledge and feel the need to help protect the children and our citizens? The children are our future. You matter. Without further ado, let me put the comments right there and change it back around. Thank you. So I got different here. This is where the Amish mother charged with aggravated murder after her husband, 4-year-old son, died at Atwood Lake. The Tuscarawas County Sheriff's Office charged Ruth Miller with aggravated murder after allegedly throwing her son into Atwood Lake, where he later drowned. New Philadelphia, Ohio, the Tuscarawas County Sheriff's Office has announced that charges have been filed against Ruth Miller, whose husband and 4-year-old son died at Atwood Lake last weekend. Close this ad right here. The 40-year-old Miller has been charged with 2 counts of aggravated murder, 2 counts of domestic violence, and 1 count of endangering children. The Tuscarawas County Prosecutor's Office explained that the 2 counts of aggravated murder against Miller pertains to her son and a finding of prior calculation and design, and a finding that the child was under 13 years of age. Prosecutors also noted that Miller was served with a complaint. She is currently in a secured hospital and when discharged will be released to law enforcement authorities, which she has now been, okay, for processing of the warrant and appearance in a New Philadelphia Municipal Court for a bond hearing and a preliminary hearing where the court will consider probable cause to bind the matter over to the Tuscarawas grand jury. If convicted of aggravated murder, Miller would face a minimum of a life sentence with parole eligibility after 20 years and a maximum sentence of life without parole. Prosecutors add that the remaining counts are misdemeanors of the first degree, each with maximum sentences of 180 days incarceration. The Miller family is part of the Holmes County Amish community and have been visiting the lake for the weekend. On the morning of August the 23rd, Tuscarawas County Sheriff's deputies and Atwood Park Rangers responded to a report that a woman and 3 of her children crashed a golf cart into Atwood Lake next to Atwood Marina West. Rescuers pulled the woman, identified as Miller, from the water. Officials said she made troubling comments about speaking with God. There was a pretty immediate statement made that she had given her son to the Lord. Tuscarawas County Sheriff's Office Orville Campbell explained during a press conference earlier this week. Miller's 15-year-old daughter and twin 18-year-old sons were able to get out of the water on their own, physically unharmed but traumatized. Campbell said prosecutors say that the domestic violence charges against Miller are regarding her sons, while the child endangerment charge is related to the daughter. You will not believe what all happened here. After speaking with the family, crews began searching for the woman's 4-year-old son, Vincent, and her 45-year-old husband, Marcus. Early signs pointed to possible foul play. Investigators determined that around 1:15 a.m. on Saturday, Ruth and Marcus Miller went out to a dock at the lake and jumped into the water because God was speaking to them. That's their explanation, okay? Things to prove their worthiness to God, to show their faith is complete, and they didn't do very well in those. Some of them were bizarre. Some of them were just women exercises. The most bizarre was that God told her to allow herself to be swallowed by a fish. As bizarre as that sounds, Campbell explained. Detectives later learned from Ruth Miller that when her husband got back to an RV they were camping in, he expressed disappointment in himself that he failed the task because he didn't have enough faith. He wanted to be swallowed by a fish, y'all. That's why. That's why he was saying he didn't have enough faith because he wasn't swallowed by a fish. Marcus Miller said he would go back to the lake and swim to the sandbar, a relatively long distance away from the dock. He was seen at the dock by a witness at 6:30 a.m. Around 8 a.m., police say Ruth Miller was seen by witnesses loading her son Vincent into the golf cart. You can watch Campbell go through the timeline of events in the case below. Around 6 p.m. Saturday, divers found Vincent Miller's body at the bottom of the lake near a dock. The body of Marcus Miller was pulled from the water at around 8:30 a.m. Sunday morning. Detectives did not believe that Marcus Miller was involved in the drowning of his son or with Ruth Miller's actions. With the three older children, police say he likely drowned accidentally while swimming in his effort to prove his faith. While Ruth Miller was hospitalized for mental health concerns, the older children were released to other family members. Campbell added that the couple's family told detectives that they most struggled with mental health issues, particularly the mother. But there were never any discussions of harming anyone, Campbell said. They had some, religious beliefs. What we recognize is this: she was clearly in a mental crisis, no doubt about it. You talk to every witness or every first responder, she was in mental crisis. And it just simply manifests itself in what we call a spiritual delusion. So the Amish are asking us to not believe that they had given this to them. They did this on their own volition. Okay. Campbell said the family had intervened as recently as Thursday after getting a concerning call though there was no indication that the couple planned to harm anyone. This was a husband, very devoted to his wife. I think they were also devoted to the Bible, and that just manifested itself incorrectly, Campbell said. I don't think there's making a lot of common sense out of it. I really don't. You can watch full briefing. Okay, if you go to wkyc.com, there's a briefing here. So let me go in here. The more information I get at the different news sites, the more better that it will go. Amish mother charged with murder after husband's son drowned in Tuscarawas County Lake. This is published on August the 27th. An Amish mother involved in two deadly drownings at Atwood Lake was criminally charged on Wednesday. Tuscarawas County prosecutors had charged Ruth Miller with 2 counts of aggravated murder, 2 counts of domestic violence, and 1 count of endangering children. She remains hospitalized, which she's not no more. So let me see if there's further. So the bodies of Marcus J. Miller, 45, and Vincent Miller, 4, were recovered at the bottom of the Atwood Lake. Here's where Atwood Marina West is. There's a kayak launch in this area up there. Atwood Lake Park. Here's a dock. And the golf cart, I guess there's a dock right there too. But this says dock right here. But here's also a little dock right there and a golf cart right there. Guess I was trying to swim to the sandbar, maybe, like they said. Situation happened over the course of Saturday and Sunday when the family camped at Atwood Lake. The sheriff said they were carrying out tasks to try and prove their faith to God. Once they returned to the campgrounds, Marcus Miller reportedly told his wife he was going back to the lake. According to Campbell, a witness spotted him along the dock at 6:30 a.m. Crews later recovered his body nearby. Then around 8:30 a.m. Saturday, Campbell said Ruth Miller placed Vincent in a golf cart and began to drive recklessly. That's when Campbell said she returned to the dock and drowned her son, which she later admitted to deputies. After that, Ruth Miller is accused of forcing her remaining children in the lake at different times. Finally, around 10:30 a.m. Saturday, Campbell said she drove into the lake a golf cart carrying her three teenagers, a 15-year-old daughter, and 18-year-old twin sons. The teenagers got out of the water on their own and were not injured. It says right here, here's where the golf cart said where Sheriff said it was golf cart crash that prompted a response and ultimately uncovered the deaths. See, evidently, if she wouldn't have done that, they might not have known. You know what I'm saying? So thank God. Campbell said it was a golf cart crash that prompted a response by rangers and deputies and ultimately uncovered the deaths. When first responders began to treat Ruth Miller, she was allegedly making concerning statements. As deputies questioned her, Campbell said the mother spoke about placing her son in the water to give him to God. Trigger warning. She also attempted to run from deputies and hide in a bush. At that time, officials learned Vincent and Marcus Miller were missing. Crews searched numerous locations on Saturday, and Vincent's body was located around 6 p.m. Marcus's body was found in the same area around 8:30 a.m. When she ended up telling the investigators that her husband evidently was swallowed by a fish. So the Tuscarawas County coroner will conduct autopsy to determine how they died. Let's go to this one over here. Tuscarawas, Ohio, County, Ohio, the Amish mother accused of drowning her 4-year-old son pled not guilty by reason of insanity. Court. A 7, one count of murder for her 4-year-old son, one count of felonious assault for her 4-year-old son, one count of child endangering for her 15-year-old son, 3 counts of domestic violence for the 15-year-old daughter and twin 18-year-old sons. So the lady who told me about this today said they would not charge her with attempted murder of her other 3 kids just because they swam away, even though she was attempted murder. Okay, she attempted to drown them by doing this. They were able to swim away, so she failed to get attempted murder charges on those. Prosecutors requested Ruth Miller be denied bond, which prompted Judge Michael J. Ernest to set a bond hearing for September the 25th. The Millersburg woman is currently behind bars at the Tuscarawas County Jail. See, now she's behind bars. See? Tuscarawas County prosecuting attorney Ryan Steyer said Miller, the convicted, faces a minimum of life in prison with parole after 20 years and a maximum of life in prison without parole. Tuscarawas County Sheriff Orvis Campbell said Miller drowned her son, Vincent Miller, and at Atwood Lake during a spiritual delusion. According to Sheriff Campbell, Ruth and her husband, Marcus Miller, 45, brought their family from Holmes County to Atwood Lake the weekend of August the 23rd. Sheriff Campbell said around 1 a.m. on August 23rd, the husband and wife, who believed God was speaking to them, went to the dock and jumped into the water. The sheriff said they were carrying out tasks to try and prove their faith in God. Once they returned to the campgrounds, Marcus reportedly told Ruth he was going back to the lake. Sheriff and 23rd 3 teenagers, a 15-year-old daughter and an 18-year-old twin sons on board. The teenagers got out of the water on their own and were not injured. Campbell said it was a golf cart crash that prompted a response by rangers and deputies and ultimately uncovered the deaths. When first responders began to treat Ruth, she was allegedly making concerning statements. At that time, officials learned Vincent and Marcus were missing. As deputies questioned her, Campbell said a mother spoke about placing her son in the water to give him to God. Crews searched numerous locations on August 23rd. Vincent's body was located in the lake near the dock around 6 p.m. Marcus' body was found in the same area around 8:30 a.m. Sunday morning. This is tragic. Hey there, Carlene. Good to see you. This is a tragic case. For her to say that she's given them to God, this is not the way to give it to God. Bible also says to not, thou shalt not kill. She took it upon herself and tried to kill her other kids as well. She put it upon herself. I guess she was trying to think, okay, then they can be swallowed by a fish too, because that's what they were trying to be swallowed by a fish, the husband and wife. This is a crazy story. Let's pray for the kids affected. Let's pray that she does not get back out of jail. The police even were saying that she was trying to get to the kids when the police, before they took her away, let me have my kids, you know. She wanted her kids back. I hope she never has an opportunity to be around them again. We pray that she gets healing, uh, but this is really diabolical. These poor kids, what they had to endure. Thank you all. It's very important that we get the word out. Sometimes our parents do stupid stuff when they have sicknesses, when they have illnesses. Let's be a voice for the voiceless. Let's be a voice for this little boy, Vincent. He didn't have a voice. And let's not blame the Amish. This was an individual's own doing. I want to say thank y'all. God bless. Please pray for everyone affected, because you know this had to even bother the search crew who found him deceased. It's always hurting to be able and to find a kid like that. Hey Peggy, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. This is a sad situation, which it says indicted on a total of 7 counts. 1 count of aggravated murder for her 4-year-old son. 1 count of murder for her 4-year-old son. 1 count of felonious assault for her 4-year-old son. 1 count of child endangering for her 15-year-old daughter. 3 counts of domestic violence for the 15-year-old daughter and twin 18-year-old sons. Wow. And can you believe that she did not get attempted murder on them 3 children? Well, that's exactly why she drove them into the lake, hoping that they die as well. And yet, all she got is child endangerment or domestic violence, because the kids were able to swim away. So let's remember to pray for everyone involved, even the rescue personnel, everybody that's affected and seeing this heartbreak story. We need to pray for ourselves as well, because it rips into our core of our being as loving individuals. Thank you all. God bless y'all.